I'm very empty. I lost my firstborn.
How do you feel knowing the person allegedly responsible for your daughter's death was let out on bond just a couple days before the shooting happened?
That man wasn't let out on bond for the charges he had. My daughter would still be here. The other victims will still be here. But they let him out, and now look.
Cause this is my birthday, bitch. And I am 28. I will smack a big bitch. What that bitch wanna do, I'll send you right to the Lord.
3 lives gone, over 50 shots fired, and it all started with a hug. A single hug. That's all it took for a Kansas City birthday celebration to explode into chaos. One moment, laughter and music filled the night. The next, screams echoed as bullets rained down, leaving a young mother dead on the same day she was born. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe with a notification bell so you never miss stories that matter. It was just after midnight on June 25th, 2023, a night that should have been filled with nothing but happiness. Jassity Strong had officially turned 28. On FaceTime with her mother, she laughed and smiled as the music boomed in the background. "Happy birthday to me," she said, lifting her glass with a sparkle in her eyes. The energy was high, friends were around, and the night felt perfect. For Jassity, this birthday was special. She wasn't just celebrating another year. She was celebrating everything she had fought for. A proud mother of 2 beautiful children, Jassity worked hard as a certified nursing assistant. She was also chasing her passion for beauty, building a name for herself as a makeup artist. Her future looked bright, and she was determined to give her kids the life they deserved. In those moments, her laughter was pure, her smile genuine. She danced, she hugged her friends, and she felt nothing but love and excitement. She was young, full of life, and dreaming big. But what no one knew, what no one could have imagined, was that this joyful celebration would soon turn into a nightmare. Within hours, that smile would vanish forever. Before her name became part of a tragic headline, Jassity Strong was a woman full of life and determination. She was a proud mother of 2, and everything she did was for her children. Friends often said that if you wanted to see Jassity truly happy, just mention her kids. They were her reason for pushing through the hard times, for working long hours, and for chasing her dreams no matter how big they seemed. Life wasn't always easy for Jassity, but she refused to let obstacles stop her. She had recently earned her certification as a nursing assistant, a job that required compassion, patience, and strength, all qualities she had in abundance. She loved taking care of people and knew that this career would give her a chance to provide stability for her family. But Jassity was more than just a caregiver. She had a creative spirit and a natural talent for beauty. Makeup artistry wasn't just a hobby for her, it was a passion. She loved transforming faces and making people feel confident. Slowly, she was building her name in the beauty world, and she dreamed of one day owning her own makeup brand or working as a professional artist for major events. To those who knew her, Jassity wasn't just another young woman living in Kansas City. She was a daughter who made her mother proud every single day. She was a loyal friend who could turn a bad day around with her laughter. And above all, she was a dreamer, a woman who believed that her best days were still ahead. She wasn't just a headline. She was a person with goals, love, and so much life left to live. On the other side of this story stood a man whose life had been defined by chaos, Kevin Green. While Jassity was building her future, Kevin's path looked completely different. From an early age, trouble seemed to be a constant shadow. Growing up in a rough environment, he was no stranger to the streets. Violence, drugs, and fast money were all around him, and eventually, they became part of who he was. By his late teens, Kevin had built a reputation, but not the kind anyone would want. Police knew his name. His rap sheet was long and included weapons charges, drug possession, and other criminal offenses. For years, it was a cycle. Arrest, release, repeat. Every time it seemed like he might straighten out, he went right back to the streets. Then came June 2023. Just 2 days before the massacre, Kevin was arrested once again, this time on a weapons charge. But instead of staying behind bars, he was released after posting bond. The amount? Just $1,000. For less than the cost of a new phone, a man with a violent past walked free. And that decision, just $1,000, set the stage for what would happen next. Because Kevin wasn't about to stay quiet. In fact, the very night Jassity was celebrating her birthday, Kevin was heading toward the same house, carrying anger, jealousy, and a gun. June 25 RD was supposed to be unforgettable in the best way. After a simple birthday dinner, the energy shifted to an underground party at Perfect Touch Auto Detail, a local auto shop that after hours transformed into a hidden nightlife spot. The place buzzed with life. The bass from the speakers made the walls vibrate, drinks were passed around like water, and laughter filled every corner. People were dancing, phones out recording videos, flashing lights, bouncing off polished cars in the background. For Jassity, this was her moment. She had turned 28 that very day. Just hours earlier, she had FaceTimed her mom at midnight, smiling ear to ear as she made birthday wishes. Now, she was glowing with excitement, surrounded by friends and the promise of good times ahead. But in the crowd of happy faces, another figure stood quietly, Kevin Green. He wasn't there to celebrate. His energy was different. While others laughed and clinked glasses, Kevin's eyes scanned the room, cold and heavy with something no one else could feel. He wasn't in a mood for jokes or fun. Then came the moment that changed everything, a tiny spark that should have meant nothing. Jassity leaned in and hugged an old friend. Quick, warm, and innocent. To everyone else, it was just a hello. But to Kevin, it wasn't just a hug. Not that night. To him, that hug wasn't innocent. It was a sign of disrespect. It burned into his pride like gasoline to a flame. His jaw tightened, his fist curled, and as if fate wanted to push things further, someone cracked a joke in the background. It wasn't aimed at him, but in Kevin's mind, it might as well have been. The laughter around him didn't ease the tension, it made it worse. The music seemed louder, the lights harsher, every sound feeding his rage. He didn't laugh. He didn't smile. He just stood there, silent, letting the anger boil. Most people would have laughed it off, but Kevin wasn't most people. Kevin didn't make a scene. He didn't shout or fight. He just walked out quietly, disappearing into the night like nothing had happened. But inside, his anger was growing darker by the second. Every laugh he heard replayed in his head. Every smile burned like fire in his mind. Minutes later, he returned, and he wasn't the same man who left. This time, he came back armed, a gun gripped tightly in his hand. His steps were heavy, his breathing slow, and his mind locked on revenge. The first shot cracked like lightning, a sound so loud it sliced through the music and laughter in an instant. People froze. For a split second, no one moved, as if their minds couldn't register what just happened. And then, chaos erupted. Screams ripped through the air. Party-goers scattered like frightened birds, knocking over tables, spilling drinks, clawing for any escape. The music didn't stop immediately. It kept pounding in the background, a cruel soundtrack to the horror unfolding. Kevin didn't fire once. He didn't fire twice. He unloaded everything. More than 50 rounds tore through the air, shattering windows, ripping through metal, and striking flesh. People dropped to the ground, some trying to crawl, others praying out loud, begging for their lives. Bullets didn't care who they hit. The celebration turned into a war zone. The sound was deafening, gunfire, screaming, crying, and the distant wail of car alarms. The smell of gunpowder filled the air. Phones lay on the ground, still recording. Drinks spilled and mixed with blood. When it finally stopped, the silence was almost worse than the gunfire. Bodies were everywhere. People moaned in pain, clutching their wounds. And in the middle of it all lay Jassity Strong, the birthday girl who just hours ago was glowing with happiness. She wasn't moving. Beside her, two others were gone, Nico Manning and Camden Brown. Their lives ended in the same storm of bullets. And there, under the harsh glow of the streetlights, lay Jassity, just 28 years old, dressed for her birthday night. Her dreams, her plans, everything ended on the same day she was born. Blood stained the pavement where confetti should have been. When the last shot rang out, The music had long stopped. All that remained was chaos. People crying, others screaming names of loved ones, some too stunned to move. The smell of gunpowder mixed with spilled liquor hung in the air. Headlights from abandoned cars cast eerie shadows over bodies lying still. For a few seconds, the world felt frozen. Then the sirens grew louder, echoing through the streets like a warning too late to save anyone. Police arrived to a nightmare. Officers stepped over shattered glass and scattered shoes left behind in the desperate rush to escape. Cars were riddled with bullet holes, windows shattered, and the pavement soaked in blood. Cell phones buzzed unanswered, their screens cracked, some still recording live streams that friends and family would later watch in horror. 3 lives were gone forever. Jassity Strong, just 28 and full of dreams, now lying motionless in the street. Nico Manning, a father of 2, never making it home. Camden Brown, just 29, who came to celebrate, not to die. Paramedics tried everything, but the truth was undeniable. It was too late. Detectives fanned out, talking to terrified witnesses still trembling from what they had seen. Some could barely speak, but one name kept coming up again and again: Kevin Green. The man who left the party angry. The man who came back with a gun. The man who turned laughter into screams. Evidence piled up fast. Surveillance cameras from nearby businesses captured all. Kevin leaving the shop, returning armed, and his car speeding away into the night after the massacre. Every detail confirmed the horror. There was no mistake. But Kevin wasn't hiding. Hours later, he walked into a local hospital like nothing had happened. Calm, cold, like he could wash the blood off his hands with a fake story. Maybe he thought he was smarter than everyone else. Maybe he thought the world wouldn't know. But detectives were already waiting. They walked in, faced him, and put him in cuffs on the spot. In that moment, the man who ended 3 lives, shattered countless others, and turned a birthday celebration into a war zone, finally lost his freedom. No more running, no more pretending. And still, outside that hospital, 3 families were crying into the early morning hours, asking the same question over and over: why? As the news of the massacre spread, one question echoed louder than all others. How was Kevin Green even free that night? Just 2 days before the bloodshed, Kevin stood before a judge on charges of illegal gun possession and drugs, crimes that clearly showed danger. Yet, the system didn't see it that way. He wasn't considered a threat, at least not enough to keep him behind bars. Instead, they handed him his freedom for just $1,000, an amount that couldn't even buy a decent phone. No ángel monitor, no home check, no restrictions on weapons, nothing. A man with a violent history walked out of jail with barely a slap on the wrist. And that single decision cost 3 innocent people their lives. For Jassity's family, that fact is a wound that will never heal. Her mother said it best: "The system failed my baby before those bullets did." The truth is harsh but clear. This wasn't just about a man pulling a trigger. This was about a decision that opened the door and let him do it. A decision that cared more about paperwork than protection. And when those sirens echoed through Kansas City that night, it was already too late to undo the damage that $1,000 mistake had caused. One hug, one simple, innocent gesture, and 3 families shattered forever. Jassity was celebrating life, not knowing hers would end in the very place she felt safe. Nico and Camden didn't wake up that day thinking it would be their last. This wasn't just a shooting. It was a chain reaction of failures, a system that let a violent man walk free, and a night that turned into a nightmare. So here's the question: who do we hold accountable? Should the focus be on bail reform to keep repeat offenders off the streets? Or should we be asking why places meant for celebration can so quickly become crime scenes? I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If the story moved you, share it. Share it so people understand that preventable tragedies like this still happen every day. And before you go, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss stories that matter. Because sometimes the only way to stop the next tragedy is to talk about this one.